Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this episode of Mahabharat, Heroes and Their Stories. Duryodhan. Duryodhan, also known as Suyodhan, is the primary antagonist in the Hindu epic of Mahabharat. He was the eldest of the Kauravas, the 100 sons of King Dhritarashtra and his queen Gandhari. Being the firstborn son of the king, he was the crown prince of the Kuru kingdom and its capital of Hastinapur, often forced into ceding the title of his cousin Yudhishthir, who was one of the Pandav brothers and the older one than him. Aided by his maternal uncle Shakuni, Duryodhan tricked the Pandavas into surrendering their kingdom and forced them to go into exile. Later, Duryodhan waged the Kurukshetra war against his cousins and was helped by the warriors Bhishma, Drona, and Karan. On the 18th day of the war, he was killed by Bhim. Duryodhan used his greatest skill in wielding the mace to defend his opponents. He was also an extremely courageous warrior, but his greed and arrogance were the two qualities said to have led to his downfall. Gandhari's pregnancy continued for an unusually long period of time. Pandu and Kunti earlier bore a son whom they named Yudhishthir. So she beat her womb in frustration. This caused a hardened mass of grey-colored flesh to issue from her womb. She implored Vyasa, the great sage who had blessed her as Shatputra Prapati Rastu, Sanskrit for blessed with 100 sons, to redeem his words. Vyasa divided the ball of flesh into 101 equal pieces and put them in pots of milk, which was sealed and buried into earth for 2 years. At the end of the second year, the first pot was opened, and Duryodhan emerged. Although loved by his family, Duryodhan and most of his brothers were not seen on the same level as the Pandavas in their adherence to virtue, duty, and respect for elders. Duryodhan felt that the partiality everyone showed to Pandavas was only due to the circumstances of their birth. Duryodhan was mentored by his maternal uncle Shakuni, who masterminded most of Duryodhan's plots to humiliate and kill the Pandavas. Duryodhan's hatred for the Pandavas stemmed from his sincere belief that he, being the son of the eldest brother, should be the heir apparent to the throne of Hastinapur. Because of his father's Dhritarashtra's blindness, he had to renounce the throne in favor of his younger brother Pandu. Duryodhan deeply believed that what was rightfully his was being given away to his older cousin Yudhishthir. He also felt that the Pandavas were the sons of Kunti and the Devatas, and not of Pandu. He never believed that their divine origin alone proved their superiority. On many occasions, he questioned their merits and always called them Kaunteya, the son of Kunti. He would never accept the Pandavas as his brothers, but always did his best to restrain them. He also bore a deep hatred of Bhima, who was younger and stronger than he, and dominated his brothers in sports and skill with his immense physical power and strength. Out of anger and jealousy, he even tried to poison Bhim but was unsuccessful. At the martial exhibition, where the Kauravas and Pandavas princes demonstrated their skills before their elders, their guru Drona, and the people of that kingdom, Karan appeared and challenged an unsuspecting Arjun, who is considered to be the best of the princes. But Karan was stopped when Kripa asked him to ascertain his lineage, as it would be inappropriate for an unequal to compete. Karan, not being a Kshatriya, bowed his head in shame. Duryodhan immediately defended Karan, arguing that it is skill and bravery and not birth that defines a warrior. Using the boon granted to him by Dhritarashtra, Duryodhan made Karan king of Ang so that he was regarded as an equal to Arjun. Karan pledged his allegiance and friendship to Duryodhan. Neither of them knew that Karan was in fact Kunti's oldest son, born to the sun god Surya before her marriage to Pandu. In the Kurukshetra war, Karan was Duryodhan's greatest champion and served as commander from the 15th day. Duryodhan sincerely believed that Karan was superior to Arjun and would defeat his four brothers. When Karan was killed, Duryodhan mounted and mourned his death intensely, even more so than the death of his own brothers, and was inconsolable. When Karan's identity was revealed to him, Duryodhan's love for Karan only grew, and it is said to be he and not the Pandavas who performed Karan's last rites. Krishna confirmed that he had the highest right over Karan, as they loved and supported each other truly. In the Shanti Parva, the divine sage Narad narrated the marriage of Duryodhan with the daughter of King Chitrangada of Kalinga. The wife of Duryodhan are unnamed in the original epic and are named as Bhanumati in the later renditions and adaptations of the epic. Duryodhan abducted them from their Swamvar, or self-choice ceremony, with the help of his friend Karan in the wake of having been rejected by them. On reaching Hastinapur, Duryodhan justifies his act by giving the example of his great-grandfather Bhishma abducting three princesses of Kashi for his stepbrother. Lakshman Kumar and Lakshmana were the children of Duryodhan and Bhanumati. Lakshman died in Kurukshetra war, and Lakshmana was married to Krishna's son Samba. According to Mahabharat, Duryodhan had only one wife and he loved her immensely. After the Pandavas revealed that they had survived the wax house with a new wife to boot, Bhishma suggested that the kingdom be divided in order to ease the obvious tension. Yudhishthir is given half the kingdom and made the king of Khandavprasth, so as to avoid a clash with the Kaurav princes over the whole Kuru kingdom. Duryodhan became the crown prince of Hastinapur, and owing to the age and blindness of his father, he accumulated more control and influence, managing the state affairs himself with a group of his advisors that included his uncle Shakuni, brother Dushasan, Bhishma, Vidur, and Karan. But Duryodhan remained jealous of Yudhishthir, especially after the Pandavas, along with Krishna, transformed Khandavprasth into Indraprasth. Moreover, Yudhishthir performed the Rajsuya Yajna and gained authority over several other kingdoms. Indraprasth's prosperity and fame appeared to exceed Hastinapur's. Duryodhan was unable to contain his anger, which was intensified when Bhim, Arjun, the twins, and the servants laughed at him when he slipped into a pool of water during a visit to Indraprasth. Duryodhan's jealousy of the prosperity and fame of Indraprasth and being humiliated by the Pandavas made him furious, and he wished to throw down the Pandavas. To support his will, Shakuni devised a scheme to rob Yudhishthir of his kingdom and wealth by defeating him in Pakida, or game of dice, in which Shakuni couldn't lose, as he had dice which he could control. Unable to decline the invitation due to diplomacy, Yudhishthir gambled away his entire kingdom, his wealth, his four brothers, and even his wife, in a series of gambits to retrieve one by staking another. After Yudhishthir lost Draupadi, Duryodhan encouraged his brother Dushasan to drag her into court, as she was now his property. Dushasan pulled Draupadi's hair and dragged her into the court. Duryodhan ordered Draupadi to sit on his left thigh, showing and patting it to insult her for revenge. Draupadi refused, and Duryodhan ordered the Shasan to disrobe her. Following his brother's orders, the Shasan laughed and started pulling Draupadi's sari. Duryodhan, Shakuni, and other Kauravas, except Vikarna, also started laughing. However, by Krishna's grace, Draupadi's amount of clothing remained the same. Due to this action, Bhim pledged that he would break Duryodhan's thigh. As an enraged Draupadi was about to curse the Kuru clan, Gandhari intervened. Fearing retribution by the Pandavas, their allies, and history, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari reversed all of Yudhishthir's losses. But then, either through Duryodhan's forcing his father to command the Pandavas to play again, or through Shakuni's vicious trick, the game was repeated. For this game of dice, Shakuni set the condition that upon losing, Yudhishthir and his brothers must spend 13 years in exile in the forest and 1 year of Agyatwas, that is, remaining unknown to others, possibly by a disguise, before they reclaim their kingdom. The 13th year must be passed incognito, or else the term of exile would be repeated. The Pandavas lost and began the exile. At the end of the exile term, Duryodhan refused to return Yudhishthir's kingdom, despite the counsel of Bhishma, Dronacharya, and Vidur. Although Dhritarashtra openly criticized his son, he tacitly desired that Pandavas agree with Duryodhan's final proposal, that the Pandavas would give up all claims to Indraprastha and Hastinapur in exchange for 5 villages. Scoffing, Duryodhan said, he will not even give even a needle point of land to the Pandavas. Egged on by Krishna, Duryodhan attempted to arrest him. Krishna revealed his Vishwarupa form. The entire Kaurava court, save for Bhishma, Drona, Vidur, Kripa, and Dhritarashtra, who was granted a divine vision in order to see that by supporting his son, he was going against God, was temporarily blinded by the form. This confirmed to those present that Krishna was indeed the Supreme Being. Duryodhan, being vastly egoistic, in some versions of the story an outright atheist, brushed off the incident, not convinced of Krishna's divinity, and believing that strength of arms and not philosophy would win him a war. With war inevitable, Duryodhan gathered support from his powerful vassals, the most powerful warriors being Bhishma, Drona, Karan, Kripa, Shalya, Pruvisarvas, Ashwatthama, etc. Even those who were critical to him were forced to fight for Duryodhan due to their previous commitments. He ended up amassing a large army than his rivals. Shakuni also advised Duryodhan to seek Krishna's help. Duryodhan rushed to Dwaraka only to find Krishna sleeping. He waited at the head of Krishna's bed. Then suddenly Arjuna arrived with the same goal in mind. Arjuna waited at the foot of Krishna's bed. When Krishna woke up, both Duryodhan and Arjuna appealed for his alliance. Krishna offered a choice of himself completely unarmed or the entire Vrishni army. Duryodhan proclaimed that because he arrived first, he should get first pick. However, Krishna said that because he saw Arjun first and because Arjun was younger, that Arjun should get the first choice. Duryodhan became worried, but was overjoyed when Arjun elected to reject Krishna's army in favor of Krishna alone. Joyously, Duryodhan returned to Hastinapur with the Vrishni army in hand, only to be rebuked by Shakuni, who commented that Krishna is worth many armies by himself. Duryodhan also managed to win the army of Shalya, the maternal uncle of Nakul and Sahadev. Duryodhan intercepted Shalya's army as it came to Kurukshetra and offered hospitality. Shalya accepted, thinking Yudhishthir had made the offer. After Shalya had enjoyed Duryodhan's comforts, Duryodhan revealed the duplicity and indicated that Shalya is now indebted to him. He used this indebtedness to extract Shalya's army and support. Duryodhan wanted Shalya mainly that Karan would have an equivalent charioteer to Arjuna's Krishna. On the 18th day of the war, with his army reduced to himself, Ashwasthama, Kripa, and Kritvarma, Duryodhan went to meditate in a lake. When the Pandavas and Krishna eventually found him, Duryodhan told them that he wanted to give the kingdom to them and retire to the forest. Yudhishthir rejected the offer, telling him that Hastinapur is not Duryodhan's to give. Instead, he offered that Duryodhan may pick any of the Pandav brothers to fight against one to one with the weapon of his choice, with the winner of the conflict the victor of the war. Despite his proposal's advantage over Yudhishthir, Arjun, Nakul, or Sahadev with the Gada, Duryodhan picked his nemesis Bhim. Despite Bhima's physical advantage, Duryodhan had a better technique due to his devotion to his craft. After a long and brutal battle between the two disciples of Balram, Duryodhan began to exhaust Bhim and nearly made Bhim faint. At this point, Krishna, observing the fight, called out to Bhim and signaled him by repeatedly clapping his own thighs with his hand. As intended, Bhim was reminded of the oath he had taken after the game of dice to crush Duryodhan's thigh. Bhim victoriously attacked Duryodhan with his mace and struck his thigh, mortally wounding Duryodhan. After having his face insultingly kicked by Bhim, Duryodhan bemoaned that he was slain by unfair means, given that it was illegal to attack below the waist in a mace fight. Infuriated at the violation, Balram, the Lord's brother, raised his weapon to attack. Lord Krishna consoled Balram by remaining and reminding him of Duryodhan's evil deeds and reprimanded him of trying to influence a war he refused to participate in. Lying defeated, Duryodhan boasted to the Pandavas about how he would die a glorious death, about how he got to enjoy Hastinapur while the Pandavas were in exile, and about how he would now spend the afterlife in the company of his friends and relatives. He again eviscerated the Pandavas for all their chicanery during the war and decided and decried their legacy. Venerating his own character, Duryodhan proclaimed he would die happily. When the coast was clear, Ashwasthama, Kripacharya, and Kritvarma, having witnessed the fight and not wanting to interrupt so as to rob Duryodhan of his honor, came to Duryodhan's broken body. Ashwatthama promised Duryodhan that he would dispatch the Pandavas and their allies to the abode of Yama and requests his permission to continue the war. After killing the Upapandavas and the last remnants of the Panchals, Ashwatthama returns to Duryodhan. He showed Duryodhan the blood on his sword, which belonged to the Upapandavas. Hearing this, Duryodhan peacefully left his body, satisfied with revenge. With this, we come to an end to this episode of Mahabharata and its heroes. Don't forget to like and subscribe and press the bell icon. Until next time, this is your host, Madhulika Chauhan, signing off. Stay healthy always. Narayan Narayan.